All right, so good morning slash afternoon, depending on what time of the day you're watching this. It has just turned 12 in the afternoon for me here, and it's been about a week since my last workout. I have been working a little bit outside of my normal job with a friend who needs help with um, just moving and hauling big stuff, big heavy stuff. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I was stuttering on the big. It's not that big. But anyway, moving all that kind of stuff, tables and heavy stuff, got me a little bit stiff and tight, and I'm going to listen to my body and not really push too much. I've tried to come in a couple of times and just done a couple of little workouts, starting off with arms and bits and pieces like that to see what's going on. And I'm really stiff. My knees are starting to play up a little bit just from being stiff and tight. Had a couple of instances while I was moving those things around and stiffened up a little bit from those little instances and those little hiccups and injuries. So just took it easy for a little bit. I've been still doing stuff outside at home in the yard. I've come in here about maybe 3 or 4 times in the last week and just sort of hit arms and just chilled out a little bit, tried a little bit of leg stuff with just cable squat and rows just to get some movement. Tend to be able to do those a little bit easier than if I was just normal sort of squatting motion or normal squatting patterns on a squat rack, for example. But anyway, I'm not going to bore you. I'm going to do a little bit of a different format. I'm going to try and do a little bit of a format change as far as the videos are concerned from here on. I'm not going to bore you with the initial warm-up phases that I've done. So I'm going to flash right now the reverse walking that I did for 10 minutes. And then the calf raise and ankle mobility work that I do from the Ben Patrick knees over toes guy workout. Then I did a 500 steps on the stair climber, which I always do before these videos, just so I can be nice and warm. And then I also do what I typically do on every workout, and that is the quad extension and the seated calf raises. So anyway, today I'm going to go and do a bit of a chest workout, hence why I did my push-ups to warm up with here already before. I'm going to go through something a little bit different than I normally do with a full workout. Today I'm just going to walk you through probably 5, 6, maybe 7 or so sets if you include a couple of warm-ups of just bench press. So I'm going to do a little bit of a chat in between sets and talk about what I'm feeling and how I'm doing it and what I'm kind of trying to do. But bench press for me has just always been one of those things that I've always enjoyed doing when my shoulder isn't hurting or in pain. When I used to play volleyball, I used to love bench press. Not for the whole, I mean, there is a little bit of an aspect to it where you're trying to lift a bit of a heavy weight. It does, feel cool to be able to put on a little bit more weight than before, blah, blah, blah. But I've shied away from going really super heavy. I've got up to 200 kilos before, which I think is about 440 pounds, like a 1 RM. I've gone back now to, I think the other week I did about 160 kilos, which is probably about 350 pounds, something like that. I don't know what it is exactly, but so I still got a bit of strength there, especially in my mid 40s. So I'm going to start putting on, I'm going to talk in kilograms for this one because I don't want to get the numbers wrong. 3 plates either side, boys, for those who are watching in Australia, New Zealand. 3 plates either side. Impressed myself with that, no spotter, 2 reps on that, so that feels pretty good. But today I'm just going to go with a form and technique based burnout because I did heavy shoulders yesterday. And for those of you who are following my Instagram, it's the same name as this channel. It is just 5 exercises of shoulders, nothing hard. At the first 1 and maybe the first 1.5 to 2 exercises are just sort of general warm-ups and movements. And then I go into something a little bit more heavy and concentrated on the last 3. I don't hit things hardcore. I'm not a bodybuilder, nor am I trying to build my body. I'm trying to maintain. Any building, any size, any lack of size, anything like that is going to be based on my food and my sleep and my workout my work comma outside of here, not my workouts, comma inside here. But anyway, we'll get going. I do like to warm up, obviously, with the machine, as I've spoken before, or in this case, the bar, the bench. I do like to warm up with those things, not just warm up in general as a whole, but warm up specifically as well. So I have warmed up in general as a whole. I've also done a muscle warm up with the bench press by doing push-ups, but I haven't done any bench press. So this is what this is. I do not have a problem starting with just the bar. I couldn't care less what anybody thinks or says. I like to practice the movement, and I'm getting stronger at the movements, which is what I'm currently doing bench press for, just to be better at bench press. I'm not trying to go for anything ridiculous, like as far as huge records or anything. I did talk about that little personal best that I had, I think it was about a week, maybe a week and a half ago or something, 2 weeks ago or something. And that's been a while since I've gone anything more than my weight. I would generally only ever go as heavy as my own weight with almost any exercise that I do. So I'm about 100 kilos, about 220, 225 or something on a decent day, give or take. So I don't do much more than that on any other thing I do. And just rep out that weight for as much as I can to get my to get my exercise in without doing anything too crazy. All right, so with this one, you're gonna see I'm doing 60 here, so 220s each side or 45s. I'm just gonna be trying to concentrate and connect my mind and my muscle. Now at this point, the muscle I'm trying to connect is the chest, obviously, but there are things like the front part of the delt and the triceps and traps and lats that are gonna be being used. In fact, my hamstrings and my glutes are being used too, technically speaking. You'll see that in the technique as I lift my butt off the bench a little bit. But what I'm trying to do is concentrate the effort into the chest and the tricep and less into the shoulder, because I have a tendency for my shoulder to pick up and take the load, which most of us do. So I'm gonna go slow on my way down. And then here, I'm squeezing the chest, but also trying to bend the bar. And that's what's gonna isolate all that effort of the squeezing of the bar, which obviously ain't gonna happen, into the chest muscle, for me, at least. Right, so I'll do sets. I'll drop down in the weights. I'll drop down in the reps for probably 3 sets. So 10 reps of this weight. I'll put a little bit more on and do 9, drop down again and do 8. And then I'll try and keep that weight and go back up to 9 and then 10 reps, all right? So the reps are gonna be 10, 9, 8, 9, 10. But the weight is gonna be 60, then whatever, 70, then 80, I guess, kilograms. So I'll just do it like that, and that should work out. Then I'll keep the 80 kilograms once I reach that, and then keep the 80 kilos for the, keep the 80 kilos for the 9 and the 10 reps as I go back up. So that's essentially what I'm gonna do. Not sponsored by anything, but stuff's pretty good. So yeah, not too much rest needed. So let's call that about a minute. Man, all the weights here in pounds. Okay, here we go. So from 60 kilos to 70 kilos, and from 10 reps down to 9, but exactly the same thing. Squeezing the chest, by trying or imagining to bend the bar. Control the way down, bend the bar. All right, so that was 9 reps. I'm gonna put a little bit more weight on again, as I said, and take the reps down to 8. And the 80 kilos down to 8 reps. When it comes to the squeezing part, be aware that I'm trying to keep my shoulder blades back onto the bench. So I'm feeling them on the bench themselves. Shoulder blades squeezed together, locked together, like the 2 shoulder blades at the back, fused together. That's what I'm trying to achieve. So when I'm straightening my arm, I'm trying to straighten my arm as much as I can with the straightening part here. But I'm not allowing the shoulder to push forward like that. That's what will allow that shoulder to kick in, right? I don't want that. All right, so 8 reps. All right, 8 reps there. All right, so a little bit of the reasoning, I guess, why I do the things I do as far as the numbers is concerned, especially with this exercise or with this special little set combination. The warm up, obviously, with the bar only is a waste of really counting as a set or a rep thing. That's just warming up the muscles for the movement. But then we start off at 60, which is, I think, a decent little weight. But it's not hard, right? I've done 60 just since I was in the early 20s. It's the first thing you work your way up to is those big plates, right? So I've always kind of done a 60 as a warm-up or as my first or second set anyway, so it's not too heavy for me. I'm not saying this is exactly the way people should be doing what they're doing, but for me, it's not too much of a heavy weight. Now, as the activation of the muscles kick in the second and third, the fourth and the fifth set, until it starts to become too fatigued, I'm going to increase the weight because I'm going to technically get stronger as more and more muscle fibers are being recruited. The brain wants it to be easier, so it's going to try and recruit more and more muscle. And as it recruits more and more muscle, you're going to feel like things are not necessarily easier, but you'll be able to accomplish the task a little easier, a little better. So adding on an extra 10 kilos to the 60 kilos for the second round made it feel like almost pretty much the same weight, okay? Because that increase of the muscles connection, and I'm trying to force that extra connection on my mind with the muscle, it didn't feel like it was much heavier, okay? Now, by the time I added the extra 10 kilos on top of that, okay, that feels a little bit more. It doesn't feel more than the 70, but it feels a little bit more than the 60 originally, right? So there's this weird little dynamic there. And that's because now it's starting to recruit a little bit more. I can feel the blood, the pump is sort of starting to happen in the right places for me, which is inside and a little bit under. So that's where I'm concentrating my effort, or that's where I'm trying to concentrate my muscle to connect. And I'm trying to stay away from the shoulder because I did a big shoulder weight session yesterday. But I don't believe in rest in that manner because I'm not bodybuilding, not doing gross splits, not doing any splits at all. So I just train. I train for the sake of training because I like training. I enjoy it, and I do what I want to do. It's my life, and I enjoy training. It's my therapy. It's my iron therapy. And I am like everybody else who suffers from A, B, and C. So therapy for me is only going to be beneficial. Whatever your version of therapy is for you, find a way. Some people it's coffee, some people it's sunlight and the beach, sometimes it's the mountains and walks. Some people it's on the bed talking to somebody. Up to you guys. It doesn't bother me whatsoever. So from here now, I'm going to pop back up and go and add an extra rep. So 9 reps to make that a little bit extra difficult. Of the same weight as before, 80 kilos. And what I'm going to feel, because I've done this before, is I'm going to feel like 7, 8, and 9 are going to be heavy. Which is kind of what I'm looking for. I'm trying to get to the end of the fatigue sort of gassing out sort of fatigue sort of bucket of energy, but without going all the way down to nothing. I don't want to fully exhaust myself like you would if you were you're like really training for size and hypertrophy and bodybuilding and stuff. Control down, squeeze the chest by bending the bar. Oh. 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 Right on cue, 8 and 9 are pretty damn heavy, as expected. I guess in a way I kind of talked my way into that by mentioning it prior, which is not something I would typically do, but explaining it to you guys probably, I guess, means that that's what I'm doing. So right on cue, 8 and 9 got pretty tough. So the last set of this little pyramid, this little style, this little matrix style, I'll pump out 10. I'm gonna try to limit the rest a little bit so that it's a little bit tough. Then at the end of that, I think I'll basically have recruited as much muscle tissue in the chest for the bench press as I need to then go and chuck that weight up. And I'm gonna skip a little bit of a step. If you think about the increments I've been using, I'm gonna skip a step, pop that bad boy up to 100 kilos. Like I said, I very, very rarely go more than my own body weight when it comes to almost any movement or exercise. There are one or two little exceptions, obviously, like if I'm doing like a plate loaded rowing machine or something, then tend to be a little stronger on the pull, so it might be a bit more, it might be like 120 or 140 or something, if you calculate the 3 or 4 plates either side, whatever it is. But for the most part, when it comes to this kind of stuff, I don't get heavier than my own body weight. So let's go and pop out that set of 10. Get that maximum maximum recruitment out of the muscle in the chest for the bench press. And then we'll get a little bit of a bigger rest than normal and crank out as many reps as we can with 100. Oh, the chest feels like it's gonna rip apart right now. Oh man. Shucks. All right. So there's that. So definitely recruited all the bits and pieces I need to there. All right, so I'm gonna chuck them. Well, there's 20 plate on. I'll get rid of these for this 10 kilos and put on 20. Oh. So typically on the way up, building up with the weights, typically I'll be able to get to 100 probably almost on my second or third set, depending on if I've been doing either push type exercises prior. But I would typically start with something like 60 first set, and then maybe 80 second set and 100 third set. Then I would do maybe 3 to 5 sets at 100, with the reps ranging between 5 or 6 at the lower end to 10 or 12 at the higher end, depending on fatigue and whether I'm going up or down. I tend to go down. Okay, most people don't do this, but I tend to go down in reps So I'll start with the most I can as far as the highest number, so 10 to 12. Then I'll go 8 to 10, then I'll go 6 to 8. And they'll all feel like 50, because as the fatigue factor kicks in on the heavier weight, then obviously the reps can go down and the muscles still feel like they're doing that bigger rep, that bigger number. So I'm trying to go for just one set here. I'm not doing much more than this today. I came in really just to do the walking, the steps. I do 500 steps every time I'm in the gym, well, at least 4 times a week. I come to the gym maybe 5-6 times a week. I'll work out every day because I'll typically do something at home at least, but I'll come to the gym or do a gym session 4 or 5 times a week probably. And I'll be doing the quad extension and the calf raises with the reverse walking on the treadmill with the treadmill off, and there's 500 steps every time I do that. So I'm doing it between 2,000 steps to 2,500 steps if I'm doing 500 each time. And I come in for that, because that stuff I can't do at home. I can do push-ups, I can do burpees, I can do little sit-ups, I got a little light dumbbell, I can do some kind of weight bits and pieces involved at home, but the heavier weights like this and, you know, specific exercises that are gym only, obviously, but things like leg extensions, quad extensions, and calf raises, I can't do those at home the same way I can do them here. And those two are very important to me for my knee health and my hamstring and quad and calf strength. I need to keep and maintain those guys as much as I can, as I am really broken inside. So there's that. But yeah, this is my last set here. I might do one more set after this, but with 60, back to the first 60, let's do higher repetition, which won't be much, but it'll feel like a bit of a pump. Should feel like more reps. But so here I'm going to try and go for about 8 on here, and then I'll try and see if I can almost maybe do a bit of a drop set, not necessarily super fast as far as dropping the weights up, but without any rest apart from the time it takes me to take the weight off, and I'll pump out as many reps as I can with just that one plate left after. So you'll see me do 2 sets now, back to back, without sort of sitting and talking. So for those who are completely bored of my voice, now is a good time to enjoy the video. Oh yeah, that kick right in there, mate. Exactly. Ugh. Might have had a 9th one in me, but I wasn't going to try it on camera. Come on, buddy. And I'll just get on here and just try and not necessarily rep out fast reps, but slightly faster tempo than the tempo of the heavier weights. Just get a little bit of an extra burn. So I don't know if you saw that there, but I was lifting my right shoulder up like this as I was trying to push. So that's telling me that either my concentration's lacking, I'm unable to maintain that seatbelt at the back of my shoulder blades, or I'm fully fatigued, one of the two. I'm going to say I'm fully fatigued because it just feels better to say. And I'm feeling pretty tired, so it makes more sense. But it's probably more so lack of focus than anything, if I'm being completely honest. There is some fatigue in there, but I reckon for the last rep or two, I probably could have and should have focused a little bit more on that and been able to focus that rep being meaningful rather than I was in my head just thinking I got it 12 since I hit 8 of the other rep and I wanted to hit an even number. I figured I could get another 12 of this one and pull out 20 in total. Just to be honest, the last maybe 2 or 3 reps, although the technique wasn't the greatest, the last 2 or 3 reps there, even on the lighter weight, felt like the heavier weight, right? So it took me a good 9 reps or so, 8, 9, maybe 10 reps at this lighter weight to get to that full fatigue, which then made the last 2 or 3 reps feel like an extra rep or 2 on the previous set with 100 kilos on top. So don't worry too much about all this extra stuff that people say this, people say that, talk about it. Really hone in on how you feel as far as the physical part of the training, what works best for you. Give everything at least 3 months, maybe 6 months to get a real good analysis of what this training style, training regime, diet styles, supplements you might be trying and taking on. Give them a good 3 to 6 months before you actually realize whether they're good for you or not. It's a long game. Training is something that your body needs to do. It's something we've kind of created and invented. I believe they started doing this stuff quite a while back, as far as like the last 100 years or so, but it's really not really taken off until sort of the 70s or something, late 60s, early 70s, as far as popularity. But it's still something that we've had to adapt and do recently, as a fact that we aren't as active and physically moving as much as we used to back in the days. But the battery is tiny on these things, so they actually only last 30-40 minutes going non-stop. And since most of my workouts, as you guys can see, are about an hour-ish, I always do tend to have to change the battery. But I was just finishing up by saying that I think you should be spending as much time as you can with one trainer, one coaching style, one routine, one regime, one whatever it may be, 3 to 6 months, and really calculate what is actually happening to you versus what you think might be happening to you based on small increment doses. Take a long-term effect. Be anecdotal with your own evidence. I will trust myself and what's happened with me and what I've done in my own training and my own life more than I would trust any other study ever. Now, there's a time for science, not the science, but actual time for science that will tell me what my body's actually happening inside that I'm not aware of, things that I don't know anything about, obviously, things that I can't measure or test. But when it comes to rep ranges, what feels best on me, there is no machine out there that will tell me that. There's no test out there that tells me any of that. It tells me based on other people that they test. And if you find out how they actually do studies, you're more than likely not believe studies either, you know? They're not all fair. They're not all trying to be fair. There are a lot of them are just trying to get the result that they want to push whatever narrative they're trying to push. That's not to say everything is like that, but there's a fair decent chunk of them out there that it just, for me, it just doesn't make any sense. I've been in this game long enough. I understand. If you've been a cook, you've been cooking at home for 20 years, it doesn't matter what nobody's study is going to tell you about someone who's not like you, that's not cooking the way you are. It's going to tell you about the flavor profile of certain things or how long you should rest a steak, etc. You just know from having done it yourself. And it's the same thing when it comes to changing and molding my body. Now, the advantages I have and how I feel I can speak about this a bit more is not only have I changed my body, but I've changed hundreds, if not thousands of bodies along the way during that process as a trainer, a coach. Hell, I've been in sports and training since I was about 18. So I'm 45, so it's been a little while. I haven't done all the extreme bits and pieces a lot of people have. My life path just didn't accumulate to that. I got to a fairly high level in most of the things that I did, and then just got almost a little bit bored, or just didn't have it to make it to the next level. I got to, B grade and never made it to the A grade, or I got to, A grade but never made it to pro, or whatever it may be. But a lot of injuries, and that's just a lack of understanding my body, which really pissed me off. That if I knew my body, or if I understood what I know now, or if I had a mentor or a coach that was able to really hone in and teach me these type of things, I probably would have been a little bit resistant in it because I'm a little bit stubborn. But if I had a coach that I trusted and believed in over the journey, I probably would have been able to do some of the things that would have helped me possibly not get as injured or as injury prone, which may have allowed me to get to that next level. I definitely had the athleticism. I definitely had a dedication for those 2 or 3 sports that I did have a lot of love and passion for growing up. Training has been one of those things for me, as I can't do the jumping around that I used to do. Although I've tried again and again a few times, it just doesn't work out. So I'd rather stick to my efforts here. And I recommend, just like you would do, is stick to a whole season of whatever sport you want to play before you find out whether you like the game or not. Same thing with these type of things. Try out different things, but stick to them. You've got a lot of years left in you, man. You've got a lot of years left in you to train. Try different styles. I do combos of things. I take slices of this one and add them to this one and make amalgamation matrix sort of molded bits and pieces, because I've done the 6 months to a year or more of that discipline, of that discipline, of that discipline. So I know which parts I can take from each of those disciplines and put it together into one piece that makes sense for me. Now, if you want guidance in any of this kind of stuff, you can go to the links in my bio in the Instagram. I'm starting to offer some coaching there online, one-on-one, in small groups or in a big group, depending on which one of those price points you want to jump in on. It's completely up to you. I do not push. I do not try and make sales. I got no BS to hide. I want to help as many people as I can, always have, always will. My number one priority is coaching, above family, unfortunately. My parents will probably confirm that. But that's just how I lay. That's how I am. Health for me is my number one priority. Not to say that family is not important to me, but I just find that my health is more important to me than anything personally, because I can't be anything to anyone if I'm not myself at 100%. So that's what I do. And I'd like to help you guys along the way if it is something that you need help or encouragement with. You can follow me on all my socials, including liking and following and sharing this video if you want to. Completely up to you. I'm trying to grow an organic crowd, an organic following, an organic group, a collection, and a tribe of people. And let's see where I can go with this. As I said before, I'm 45 and I've been doing this a long, long time. Okay. I get compliments all the time about not looking like my age, but I have to say that it's not because I look this way that I think I take that compliment on. It is because people who are my age shouldn't be looking the way that they look. Okay. This is what you should look like at 45 if you were healthy your whole life, because I've been healthy my whole life. People drop off the health wagon and go into all the other bits and pieces, which I completely understand can get them a little bit caught off guard or a little too busy to be able to take care of their health. But there's always something you can do as far as your health is concerned. If you are not taking care of your health with a priority and not investing in your health, I consider myself a health investor, a master health investor, then you are literally burning the candle at both ends. There's no point in having family, creating wealth, gaining all these bits and pieces you cannot enjoy at the end of your life, right? That's my opinion. So for me, health is wealth. It's the most important part of any life. And it's unfortunately, the compliments are coming from a good place, but I almost have to see them as a negative, and that I am not helping enough people get them the shape that I think they should be for their age, right? And I'll push, right? I push. I don't really accept anything lower than what I think you can do. So if you're ready to work and put in the effort, go for it. I just much rather you work smarter rather than harder, which is what I've done. Work smarter, consistently over a long period of time. And you also can be sitting on here and doing these type of videos also, which I think is a great thing. Sharing is caring. So enough of these little crazy analogies. I've been talking for way too long. I feel like I've got a dry mouth. Anyway, so I'm gonna finish this up, break it off with you guys here, but I'm gonna go do 100 dips and 50 chin-ups, because that's what I do at the end of every session before I then go back and do some work later on, moving heavy stuff again. So I appreciate you guys. Much love, peace, and see you on the next one.